Hey guys, and welcome back to another video about how to maintain foreign languages. Today we're going to talk about the importance of building your own language learning resource library as you learn a foreign language. And this is basically when, no matter what you're using, whether it's a language course or podcasts or music, song lyrics, whatever you're using, it's finding a way to capture that as a resource that you can then review later on. And this is very, very effective when you want to maintain that foreign language, but especially if you ever need to revive the foreign language. So let's say that your French is pretty good, but 6 months go by and you just don't manage to practice your French, and then now you realize that you've forgotten a lot of vocabulary and you're finding it difficult to speak French. So this is a very, very effective way to quickly revive those skills, but also to maintain them as you go. So I'm going to give you a very concrete example from my current language learning situation to better illustrate what this looks like. So, as I mentioned previously, last year, it was August, I believe, I did like a 2 or 3 month really, really solid push with my German. And it was great. I had so much fun, and I picked up like literally 2 or 3,000 new words and phrases and idioms, and it was great. But unfortunately, over the last 4 or 5 months, I've spoken almost no German because life got insane. I've lived in 3 different countries since then, on 2 different continents. I've done different jobs, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep speaking my German. So now it got very rusty, and unfortunately, I forgot a lot of the stuff I had learned. But thankfully, I have an amazing library of content that I used when I was studying German, and so in about 2 or 3 days, I've been able to get back a massive amount of what I lost. And here's what that looked like. So the main thing I did back in August for my German was I was using a YouTube series called Easy German. Now, some of you might know that. For those of you who don't, it's basically a series where every episode has a thematic question, such as how do you define art, how do you define work, what do you think about the European Union? What do you think about Facebook? All kinds of topics. And it's great because they have very high quality audio. It's very natural German that is spoken by mostly native speakers. You get a lot of repetition because it's the same question being asked over and over. But every response is also unique. And but the best thing is that they have bilingual subtitles, which I love. And so what I did, I'll explain this in more detail later on, but just briefly, I took about 15 episodes. So I went through the catalog and I picked about 15 episodes that I thought looked really interesting questions. And I downloaded the MP3 files from YouTube so I could put those on my phone. And basically, I have a really meticulous study method that I use at that stage of my learning, where I went through every episode and I ripped it to shreds. I absolutely devoured it for content. I wrote down all the phrases, words, idioms. I wrote a lot of stuff down, even stuff that I understood, but I wouldn't have known to phrase it that way. So, for example, one time she said at the start, she said, "Unser heutiges Thema ist," and that means, so today's theme is. So I understood it perfectly, but I wouldn't have known to phrase it that way, so I wrote it down because I wanted to add that to my repertoire. So I ended up with all these words and phrases, and I put those into a Memrise course. So I made a Memrise course, and I called it Easy German, and then I had 15 levels, and each level was an episode. And so I would watch one, I would devour it, and then I would put all that content into the Memrise course, and then I would study it, and so on. Then I would listen to the same episode on my phone while I was walking around the town, while I was doing dishes, and it was amazing. And I found that after listening to it 3 or 4 times, I understood 100% of the content, all the words, all the vocabulary, and it was great. And then when I spoke German, because I have such a meticulous method, I was actually able to use a lot of that actively already. Now, that's really significant because what that means is now I have a beautiful Memrise course with all those words and phrases that I learned and saved, ready to be reviewed at any time. I have a playlist on my phone of all these different episodes that I can listen to again at any time. And it's almost like all the German that I learned in that period is safely and tightly locked inside of those episodes or inside of that memorized course. And so about 3 days ago, I'd finally got back to my German, and I decided, okay, I need to revive this because I realized my German got very rusty. And I forgot a lot of stuff, unfortunately, that I had learned. And, okay, I have some visitors. And so what I did is I was walking into town, and I listened to about 2 or 3 episodes of the show. And it was amazing. It was such a cool experience because I think if I was speaking to a native speaker and I heard all these same words, I would have struggled to understand them. It's okay. But as I was listening to the podcast episode, it was amazing because all these words that I knew I had forgotten were just coming back to me. Because the point is context. Context is king. And all these words, I learned them from a specific context that I remember very well. And so as I would hear these words, the meaning would just pop back into place, and it was amazing. There were some words that I still just couldn't remember, unfortunately. So I went to the memorized course, and in about 1 hour, like not even an hour, I picked, the first episode was called Arbeit, which is the word for work. So how do you define the word Arbeit? And I took literally 25 minutes to review all of the vocabulary in my memorized course. And then I listened to it again, and I understood everything. It was amazing. And so in the space of 2 or 3 days, with not much effort, I went through most of the episodes already again. I reviewed all the words in Memrise in just a few hours of total work. And I recovered almost everything that I forgot. And I'm so delighted. And it just, but it's because I had that nice, convenient, well-organized content library that I created for myself. So it wasn't a course somebody else made. It wasn't a book that with all kinds of stuff that it was resources that I created for myself with exactly what I wanted to learn. And this works the same way with music. Let's say that you take song lyrics and you're learning vocabulary from song lyrics. Well, it's amazing, right? Because then you have a playlist of songs, and you know that at one time you knew all the words. And so just listening to those songs, it's a way of maintaining that vocabulary and using it. With my Japanese students, I have an amazing little graded reader series. And what we do is we go through it together, and I create memorized courses for them. So I have a memorized course that I built. It's a huge course that I built for my students, and it has so much content in it from all these different stories that we've read. And they love it because it's tangible progress. So every time they finish a story, they can see, wow, I learned like 200 new words, all these new kanji, the Chinese characters. But more importantly, they can review all that content anytime they want by either rereading the story or by reviewing the memorized deck. So that's why it's so effective, and I really recommend that you think about that. And as you go, don't just study stuff and then put it to the side and never look at it again. No, build a library that you can go back to whenever you want and maintain or revive your foreign languages.